Okay? Please go ahead. I visited the Philippines, a friend and important strategic partner across the sea for our country. First, I explained to President Marcos the results of Japan-Philippines defense cooperation to date, and also stated that we will work closely together at the Japan-Philippines summit meeting to be held at the end of this month. After that, I held a joint press conference with the Ministry of Defense of Japan. In the midst of a severe security environment, I feel that it was very meaningful to share my understanding of specific cooperation with my counterpart, Japan, and to confirm that we will further strengthen our cooperation. First, I reaffirmed with Minister of Defense that we strongly oppose any attempt to unilaterally change the status quo by force or coercion in the East China Sea and the South China Sea, and confirmed that we will continue to share our understanding of the situation amidst the increasingly tense situation in the region. We also agreed that if necessary, we will hold consultations between the two countries to ensure the security of both countries and the peace and stability of the region. Furthermore, in order to improve the Philippines' ability to understand the maritime situation, Japan has been promoting the transfer of a warning radar. I explained the recent revisions to Japan's defense equipment triad principles and operational policies and guidelines, and the minister expressed his instructions and expectations that these will further strengthen Japan's contributions to regional and global peace and stability. The two ministers confirmed that they will further promote defense equipment and technology cooperation aimed at strengthening regional deterrence and response capabilities. Based on this, today I signed an agreement with Minister Teo regarding the further promotion of defense equipment and technology cooperation. As part of this agreement, we established a working group including the policy, operational, and equipment departments of the defense authorities of both countries. As part of this, we agreed to advance discussions on realizing comprehensive equipment cooperation, including the transfer of defense equipment, including the TC-90 and TC-100, with the aim of achieving the early transfer of these equipment. Furthermore, I welcome the establishment of a legal foundation that will enable further strengthening of defense cooperation, such as the issuance of the Facilitation Agreement for Defense Equipment in September last year and the signing of the agreement in January this year. Tomorrow, I will be joining Minister Teo in the large-scale multilateral joint exercise Barricada 26 hosted by the United States and the Philippines, in which the self-defense forces will participate for the first time since the issuance of the Facilitation Agreement. With the issuance of the Facilitation Agreement RAA, it has become possible to bring weapons into the Philippines, which was not possible before, and we will be conducting the first field training in the Philippines, including the live firing of a geospatial missile. I look forward to confirming with Minister Teodoro the new first step towards strengthening cooperation between the Japanese and Philippine governments. The Philippines is a strategically important country located at the heart of our country's defense, and as a fellow maritime nation, it is an indispensable partner for us to strengthen cooperation in the defense field. Based on this visit, I would like to further develop our defense cooperation relationship with the Philippines. That concludes my opening remarks. Yes, my name is Sato from the Asahi Shimbun. I will talk about the export of the type to the Philippines. Today, a new working group was established to discuss these matters, and the matter has officially been decided, but when and how many seats do you plan to transfer? Also, if the transfer is made free of charge, it will be necessary to amend Article 116 of the Self-Defense Forces powers. Some have said they are aiming for a regular public release next year, but are you considering a free transfer or a low-cost transfer? If so, what is the schedule? Also, could you please explain the significance of transferring used equipment to the Philippines in your own words?
Yes, at the
recent Defense Ministry meeting, it was agreed that concrete discussions would begin toward the realization of the transfer of defense equipment, including the Akuma-type defense equipment, to the Philippines. Regarding the terms and conditions, including the timing and quantity of the transfer that you just asked about, the Japanese side will be led by Director General of the Bureau of Defense Policy Manami, and the Philippine side will be led by Procurement Resource Management Officer Maison, and the newly established working group will actively hold discussions with the Philippines in order to reach a concrete conclusion as soon as possible. A decision will be made based on that. In addition, following the recent review of the operational guidelines, we will actively consider how to make meaningful use of used equipment from the self-defense forces for the country, so whether or not legal amendments are necessary will be decided during these concrete discussions. In addition to the above, we would like to deepen discussions in the newly established working group so that we can promote transfers aimed at improving regional deterrence from the perspective of improving the capabilities of the Philippine Navy, improving the comprehensive operability of Japan-Philippines Defense Forces, and strengthening the future maintenance and development base in the region. Today, including these matters, the fact that we were able to have concrete discussions in the presence of President Marcos symbolizes the importance of the Philippines as a strategically indispensable partner for Japan. The Chief Cabinet Secretary, Minister of State, and I had concrete discussions with President Marcos, and I feel that this kind of thing is rare in other countries. Today, the Ministry of Defense and Ambassador Endo are here, and our country is one of the few countries in the world that has deployed personnel from the Ministry of Defense, Army, and Air Force to the Philippines. Well, I would like to firmly establish today's agreement, and further solidify the agreement that was reached through coercion, and I would like to strongly encourage the field departments to play an active role.
Yes, I have one.
Question. I would like to ask about equipment exports to South Asia. Although it was not part of this visit, Thailand imports about 50% of its equipment from China, South Korea imports 50% from Russia, Vietnam imports about 20% from China, and Malaysia imports about 40% from China. While it is important to build relationships with each country in South Asia, the proximity to China varies from country to country, and there are risks such as information leakage. Please tell me your thoughts on the importance of equipment exports to South Asia and future challenges. As the security environment surrounding our country changes rapidly, I believe that it is necessary to practically and strategically promote the transfer of defense equipment as an important policy tool for creating a desirable security environment for our country. Specifically, it is necessary to establish a relationship in which we can create an environment in which we can support each other from the basics to emergencies by possessing common equipment with our allies through defense equipment and sharing production, maintenance infrastructure, while also improving our deterrence and response capabilities across the region. From a global perspective, it is necessary to advance meaningful defense equipment initiatives from the perspective of strengthening cooperation with our allies in the Indo-Pacific region, including Southeast Asian countries, and I believe it was significant that we were able to reach an agreement to further advance defense equipment and technology cooperation during our recent visits to Indonesia and the Philippines. Regarding the risk of equipment transfer leakage, as you pointed out, when transferring defense equipment from Japan, we strictly examined the appropriateness of the transfer destination and security concerns for each individual case, and only approved the transfer if appropriate management after the transfer is ensured. As a general rule, we require the recipient government to obtain Japan's prior consent for specifications other than those intended and transfers to third countries. We also intend to ensure appropriate management after the transfer more than ever before, such as by strengthening the monitoring system for management status after the transfer. Furthermore, in order to ensure the preservation of secrets related to equipment and other aspects of our country's security from a safety perspective, we will utilize the Defense Equipment Facilitation Fund as necessary and take measures such as black boxing and reverse engineering countermeasures. In this way, the government intends to protect Japan's excellent technology by ensuring strict screening of new systems and measures to ensure proper management, while also strengthening the deterrence and response capabilities of our allies through the transfer of defense equipment. Yes, this is from the Yomiuri Shimbun. I would like to ask about relations with the Philippines. The Philippines was also mentioned in the meeting. Cooperation in the area of security assurance is evolving, such as the conclusion of the RAW, the participation of personnel from the BAKAC, and other capacity building support. Japan and Taiwan are both located at the heart of the Pacific Ocean, and are also countries that have built a strong relationship with Taiwan. Amidst concerns that the United States will reduce its involvement in the Pacific by emphasizing its policy of putting its own country first, what are your goals for evolving cooperation with Japan and the United States? And what do you think is necessary to further strengthen cooperation between Japan and the United States? Yes. In addition to bilateral cooperation between Japan and the Philippines, We are also strengthening cooperation in other countries through the Balikatan that the minister and I will be visiting tomorrow, as well as joint activities such as the MCA, which is also known as the Squad. At this Ministry of Defense meeting, we agreed to further strengthen bilateral and international defense cooperation. Although the schedule still requires it, we will also be visiting Shangri-La and Dialogue Road. Through various opportunities like these, we will work together with Minister Teo to consider various frameworks and cooperation not only between the two countries but also between other countries. Going forward, we will continue to work hard to advance defense cooperation with the Philippines, including defense equipment, and ensure regional peace and stability. Yes. This is Takeuchi. This visit to Indonesia and the Philippines was Minister Koizumi's first top-level sales pitch since the revision of the government's defense production principles and operational guidelines. The revised three-pronged approach states that it is increasingly important to strengthen the ability of allied countries to deal with deterrence through the promotion of sports. Could you please tell us again how you felt about the abolition of the benefits of this visit? Thank you. First of all, during today's meeting with the President, the topic of reviewing Japan's defense equipment and policies came up. Even with the President present, we were able to have specific discussions. Regarding such matters, there is no doubt that specificity can only be discussed if there is a review of the defense system policy. As I mentioned in Indonesia, in the Philippines as well, the abolition and review of the 5 powers of defense will definitely deepen cooperation with allied countries and lead to the acceleration of policies. The review of the current policy on the part of the Secretariat, and the agreement with Indonesia and the Philippines, will now proceed with specific discussions, and with the Philippines, we will proceed with specific discussions including the Akuma-type defense officer and TC-90, including the number and timing. However, there is no doubt that the efforts of the Secretariat and the coordination between the Secretariat staff of each country have been tremendous, and this is the culmination of their efforts. In order to make the Secretariat's efforts more proactive and to avoid unnecessary costs, I believe that this review will make it easier to communicate and collaborate on administrative investments. So, as I have been saying since before this review, such things will ultimately lead to the loss of a desirable security environment for Japan, but after the policy review in Indonesia and the Philippines, I have once again had specific discussions with the ministers and presidents of both countries, and I feel that the full implementation of this policy is definitely leading to the strengthening of cooperation between the two countries. Takeuchi, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the US-China summit is scheduled for mid-month. I think that the presence of both countries will have a major impact on the peace process in the Indian Ocean region. So what kind of exchanges do you expect at the China-US summit? Yes. Well, I will refrain from commenting on exchanges with third countries, but I would like to say that I believe it is important that US-China relations contribute to the stability of the international community, including Japan, and that our country will continue to suspend related exchanges. Since I have just spoken,
After the minister, I will conclude